Hello my wonderful people, I don come again with the trendy thing wey dey ground, and the matter, the tori wey dey ground na be say the presidency don come out dey mock Peter Obi, say Peter Obi wan grab power. Guys, I don really understand the problem wey we get with dis APC people. Why body dey always pepper dem if somebody come out talk anything wey dem do wey no dey right? And according to Alindume dey talk say na the people wey the president dey carry put for body na dem be the major problem wey Nigeria get, and obviously e dey be so. Somebody like Daniel, the media aide to the president on policy communication, dey come out dey mock Peter Obi after Peter Obi get interview with Rufai. Dey talk say I wish he na president, say e for still remove subsidy and e for also float naira. Na Daniel come out to dey yarn say why e go talk like that. Peter Obi has never one day said that removing of subsidy or floating of naira is bad, but wetin im dey talk say na the implementation, just like wetin every other person dey talk say na the implementation be the koko.
If we're at war, we declare war, and we know we're at war. But
would you have declared a state of war mandatory if he had come in?
Whatever it takes to secure the country, I'll do it.
Gentlemen, I have with me Peter Gregory Obi. My pleasure having you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rufai.
This interview will be to clear a lot of things people have against you. They say you do not have credible economic growth alternatives. For instance, they say you have just criticized President Tinubu's government, but you have not given alternative or what you will have done or subsidy removal, as regards floating the naira, and as regards other things that President Tinubu did to stabilize the economy, which were bold measures. What will you have done?
Rufai, I was surprised when you said this is about criticisms. They should have even said some things that I did that was positive, or I said I was positive. But let me tell you, I've consistently maintained that I would have removed the fuel subsidy. If you go to my manifesto, it's there. Steps I would have taken to do it in an organized manner. There was nothing wrong in removal of subsidy. What is wrong is the haphazard way in which it was announced and implemented. Everybody knows that the subsidy regime was a solution of criminality, that there was a lot of corruption surrounded with it, which you needed to bundle that aspect out of it, do it in an organized manner. And since you're doing it for savings, we're told we're doing it because we don't want to continue to borrow to continue the subsidy, and the removal of it will be able to have available funds to be invested in critical area of development. With honest things, billions saved. Where is it? Where is he invested in those critical areas of development?
They said they've given the money to the governors. That's what.
No.
They said they've increased their FAC allocation.
Fine.
They said most of the states have been able to pay them.
Everybody knows what critical areas of development is. And I say it morning, afternoon, night. It is education, health, and pulling people out of poverty. Rufai, is any of these three, has it improved? No.
The Minister of Health said they're getting new primary health care centers. As regards education, they said they have done NEL Fund, where they give student loan to people. As regards infrastructure, they talk about Postal Road and other things.
Let me just finish, Rufai. What I'm saying is, if you look at this, so you have removed this. People are paying more for fuel. It has escalated cost of everything, And we are not seeing where. The same thing with what you talked about, issue of Naira. There's nothing wrong with floating your currency. There's nothing wrong in even devaluing your currency. But you do this when you have productivity. What devaluation or floating does is that your currency becomes, in terms of value, low. You attract investment. Your products becomes unmarketable. But where we are unproductive, you have nothing to sell. So it's a double whammy. So in all this, I would have done the same thing in an organized manner. And when people say alternative economic policies, they're there.
So what is this organized manner?
That's what I'm saying to you.
So can you give us precept by precept of this organized manner in which you pulled out subsidy?
Subsidy removes the criminality that's associated with it, which is over 50% of it. Be able to sit down with the operators there and come up with a pricing that will not be agreed. And then, whatever we're able to save from it, have a specific place we're investing it. So we say, whatever is saved from here, whatever we are giving it to the states, anything, it is specific for this. We have to have a national planning where all the resources will be put in. It is not just something you say, oh, we're sharing it the way we used to share every other morning. No, because that's not what you said. You said we will be able to put it in critical areas of development. That was your promise. So we've removed it. People want to see where these funds are invested. It's a very clear thing. We're not the only country who've done that before. Countries after countries go with national flag.
So would you have floated the Naira if you got in? And how? You said there's nothing wrong with it. Would you have floated the Naira? Tell me the precept upon precept at which you will have floated the Naira.
I would have been doing it in an organized manner.
What's the organized manner?
I would have focused on making sure that we ramp up production in agriculture, in manufacturing, and everything, and do it gradually.
So, but you will have kept on defending it until we ramp up production.
It's not, you're not defending it.
Yeah.
Because even in the so-called currency, there were criminality as well. I came from a background of business, banking, everything. So I know everything that is associated with the criminalities and all these things, which you can actually be tightening while trying to do a gradual evaluation.
How would you have increased production in a country that President Tinubu claimed that there was no money when he came?
Well,
and things were really bad and he had to take those decisive measures. How would you have increased production in a country where you have crisis on the farms, economic crisis, no power, no productivity and the likes? How would you have increased?
You've just said it. That means you should face those things. You just said it. Why do we talk about a sample? Do you know these projects that will lead to nowhere when we have crisis? Are you saying that coastal road is more important than securing Nigeria?
But they say it will open up to the country.
No, don't. Let's not go there. The roads we have all over the country are no motorable. You fix those ones first and use your resources to secure your country. Say, Rufai, then security is far more fundamental than road. Rufai, will you prefer a road to your village when you cannot drive to your village? No, so if you prefer, so let us prioritize what we're doing. So if you say our problem is insecurity, they can't go to farm, our problem is power, let's deal with those things. Let's use our resources to...
So how would you have dealt with insecurity, for instance, that's lasted over 10 years?
Rufai, we're a country. Non-state actors cannot take over the country. There's something wrong. I can tell you, I have done in my own small way facing security as the governor of a state. And we decided that we have to take drastic action.
But a lot of people criticize you that it was only the time you had to cause a SARS that also violated the fundamental rights of people.
Go and ask them. It's very simple to accuse people and say things that are wrong about people. You can go and see what happened while we were there. Is nothing. All those things they are talking never existed. And you saw the former IG Abubakar, a month after I left, say for 5 years, they didn't have one incident of bank robbery or this. That was there when I came. We are government. We must secure our people. And it requires decisive action. It requires, if we're at war, we declare war. And we know we're at war. But
would you have declared a state of war mandatory if you had come in?
Whatever it takes to secure the country, I'll do it.
Take away from me is Mr. Peter Obi's simplicity, his humility. Now, he's saying that, look, he has just one house in Onitsha. In Lagos, he has a flat. He stays in hotels in Abuja whenever he's there. Look, the same cannot be said for many of these former governors. And he also pointed out that since he left office as governor in 2014, no succeeding state government has even bought him a bottle of water. Well, if you compare that, I don't think he was saying that in the context of expectation. It was the subtext for me is the fact that many of these former governors, they collect all kinds of privileges from the states. They would take a house in their states, they will get a house in Abuja, their medicals and that of their families will be paid for by the state government. They will go on holiday at state expense. They just turn themselves into government children. Whereas the honor of service should be more important. And so you have an example of one governor here saying that, look, it's not a parasite. It was enough for him to have served. And I think that is important. And you recall that in many states of the Federation, there's been, a protest against former governors who end up living a parasitic life, living like leeches, at the people's expense in their various states. Again, about Mr. Peter Obi's simplicity. I was once on a trip to Morocco. Some of these people, when they are going to London, some people go through Libya, some people go through Turkey. They cannot afford to buy, direct flight ticket to London. And that was even in those days when, tickets were even cheaper. Not now that, you almost have to go and rob a bank to be able to travel from one part of the world to the other. People were shocked when they saw Mr. Peter Obi inside the aircraft, inside economic class, going to London via Air Maroc. In fact, the whole aircraft, just stood up and they started clapping for him. They couldn't believe that a man with his kind of background as a businessman, a former governor, would just, take the simple route to go to London. I've seen him on the streets of London before. You will see him carrying his own bag. He doesn't have an entourage. Maybe you will see him with one person, Valentine, who was my classmate at Lagos State University. That's the only person you will see with him. And he will be walking on the streets like everybody else. So the humility that he brings to the task, the simplicity that he brings to it, the humanism, his lack of pretense, I think is something to be said for him. And it came through in that interview. Second is the record of his performance as governor in Anambra State. Now, as governor in Anambra State, well, you can benchmark whatever he says about education, about government house, and all of that against, the people of Anambra. In the Anambra will have their own assessment of, what has happened, how each governor has performed. But one thing that could be said about him was that he was a very religious, leader also in Anambra, particularly with the Catholic Church, and how he made efforts to reach out to other constituencies, whether church or Muslims, and promote the ideals of religious unity. Number 3, standout point for me here, was the point he was making about the state of the nation. Now, again, characteristically, he was talking about productivity. That is not enough for you to float currency, that you have to benchmark it with a lot of productivity. Well, he's been consistent in that regard. And then he says it's not about sharing money, that the state governments get more money and all of that. Well, all the things he said about the state of the nation, somebody will just say, okay, he's a leader of the opposition. What do you expect him to say? The Tinubu administration has remained consistent in saying that his reform-minded approach is precisely what Nigeria needs. As for the crisis within the Labour Party, I don't think it's something that you can wish away. That Labour Party, gave a lot of young Nigerians a lot of hope. I think it's unfortunate that the Labour Party has not been able to put its house in order. And as leader of the party, that is a question that will always, come across. But, look at his humility, his simplicity. I think, he represents a different kind of example of political leadership, of business leadership. This is a man that has been involved with 3 different banks, and yet he sees the need to give account. I hope that more political leaders, will learn 1 or 2 things from his example. Complete lack of pretense. Thank you.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, our time is